Hello and welcome to a new video. In this video, I want to talk about advanced prompt engineering going beyond simple AI prompting. If you want to see how to be more efficient with AI prompting and get more accurate results, stay tuned. Before we get started, let's talk about what prompt engineering actually is. Prompt engineering is the practice of designing, crafting, and optimizing text inputs, prompts, to effectively communicate with and guide AI language models to produce desired outputs. So what that means in essence is it is the practice of crafting a prompt, providing the correct information to the AI model to get the desired responses. And as you can sure imagine, this is an art and a science because it does require creativity and systematic approach. It is a bridge between the human intent and the AI understanding, and it is also a critical skill for maximizing AI tool effectiveness. If you're not effectively creating and engineering your prompts, you may get not the accurate or desired output from the AI model. And prompt engineering is a discipline with rapid evolution. Let's take a quick look at a simple prompt and an engineered prompt. A simple prompt would be, tell me a joke. And the AI model will go ahead and will tell me a joke. So why do scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Now, how would the AI tell me a joke if I engineer a prompt? If I'm more specific and give some more information around what I want, I will get a more specific answer. Tell me a joke about a German man visiting the USA. Let me go ahead and fix this. And let's send this. Now I get a by far more specific joke to exactly the parameters that are outlined here. It's a German man visiting the US, and I get a by far more accurate output. This is the difference between a basic prompt and an engineered prompt. Now you may ask yourself, why does prompt engineering actually matter and why should you care? There is, on the one side, a business impact, meaning that businesses do benefit from employees who are well versed with prompt engineering, because well-crafted prompts can save hours of work. Better prompts equals more consistent and accurate outputs, reduces the need for multiple iterations and revisions, and organizations with better prompting skills will get better results. Then there's also a technical importance. AI models are only as good as the instructions they receive. The same model can produce vastly different results based on prompt quality and determines whether AI becomes a powerful tool or a frustrating experience. Here are core principles of effective prompting: clarity and specificity. Be clear and direct. Avoid vague prompts. What this means is don't just type, tell me a joke. What you want to tell it is, tell me a joke about, and maybe set some other parameters. Context matters. Give background information for more tailored answers. What this means is, when you prompt an AI model, you want to give as much information as you can. And that could be parameters, that could be the role that you want the AI to play, or maybe some other information that will influence the final response. And format and structure. Use delimiters, specify output format. If you want to have, for example, a table returned, or you want to have the results shown as a bulleted list, you want to make sure to tell the AI to return the response in that manner. There are different techniques that can be applied when engineering prompts. So let's talk a little bit about some of the advanced techniques and explain them. The first one up is few-shot prompting. That provides a model with a few examples to guide its understanding and desired output format. Let's take a look at a quick example. So looking at this prompt, you will see the prompt classify the sentiment of these movie reviews as positive, negative, or neutral. And then we're providing the AI model with a couple of examples. In this case, we given 3 examples. And then on the very last 4 rows, you see the prompt to now classify this review. We give it the review, and then we'll just leave the sentiment open for the AI to determine the sentiment based upon the examples that we gave previously. This is considered few-shot prompting. Next, we have chain of thought, COT. This prompting technique encourages the model to show step-by-step reasoning and improving accuracy for complex problems. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example. Here we do see an example of chain of thought prompting. So what we're doing is we have our prompt and we ask the AI to work through this step by step. So our standard prompt would be, what is 15% of 240? And if we want to use chain of thought, then we would say, what is 15% of 240? Let's work through this step by step. And the AI will then return every single step and explain what it did and how it arrived at that point. This is what's considered chain of thought prompting. Self-refinement or recursive. This is a technique that is about providing initial output back to the model as input for iterative improvement and refinement. Let's take a look at an example. Here we have an example of self-refinement or recursive prompting. We have our initial prompt. We ask it to write a product description for wireless Bluetooth speakers. We get our response back. And in our next prompt, we will refer to our initial prompt response. We refer to this, and we ask it to refine it based upon the criteria we give it. And then lastly, what we will do, the response that is given is this refined response after the review. And then we will have, for example, a next step in which we take this response and we refer to that in this prompt to further refine it or finalize it. And then we'll end up in our final refined version. This would be self-refinement or recursive, as we are taking the initial response, refine that, take the refined response and pass it back in and refine it further. Next, we have a technique called React. React combines reasoning, thought, and acting and action steps, allowing models to interact with external tools and refine responses. Let's see how this works. Here we have an example of a React prompt. We have a system prompt in which we are giving the AI model instructions. We are assigning a role, we are assigning available actions, and we are telling it how to format the response. Once we have applied this, then we can go ahead and we can run our question, or we can submit our prompt to the AI. So I will demonstrate this real quick. Let's go ahead and take the system prompt. We'll go ahead and apply it, and I will hit enter. And Claude has now set the tone, has set the parameters and so forth, the available actions. And you see here, I understand you've set me up as a React prompting format. I'm ready to use this structured approach to reason through problems. Now let's take the question that our example gave us here. Here is our query. Let's take this and put this into our prompt, and let's hit enter. Now it should go ahead and perform React prompting and perform all the actions and give us all the steps that it is taking. And as you can see here, it gives us the thought, the action, and then the observation, and it gives us a thought again, the action, the observation, and so forth. And it is repeating it until it found the best answer to our question, which is right here. This is what is considered React prompting. And the last but not least advanced technique is called prompt chaining. And prompt chaining means that you connect multiple prompts sequentially, where the output of one prompt becomes the input for the next prompt to achieve a complex task. Let's take a look at an example. Here we have an example of prompt chaining. So we have our first prompt, research and analysis, and this would be the prompt that we would be submitting to analyze the target market for eco-friendly water bottles. I will not read the whole thing, but you get the idea. So this would be our first prompt. Now we want to chain it into the next prompt, which is our prompt 2, and this is the positioning strategy. So I rephrase my prompt and I'm passing in here the results from our first prompt. So the response here will be copied and pasted into this prompt. And then I have my third prompt, and I'm taking now the output from my second prompt, and I would copy and paste this in here to then arrive at my last prompt here, which is the campaign structure. And I would take then the output from my third prompt here. I would take the response and paste this in here. And then I would run this to get my final results. This is what's considered prompt chaining. As there is some advanced prompting techniques to engineer your prompt, there are also some frameworks out there that will help you with your prompt design. So rather than just typing a prompt, consider using a framework to get to a well-designed prompt. And there are many frameworks out there, and depending on your goal, you may want to select the best fitting one. You can always prompt an AI model to give you different ideas what framework to use. Let's take a look at a few. The first one that we have here is RTF, Role Task Format. So we want to assign a role. Who should the AI be? We assign a task. What do we try to accomplish? And we also go ahead and assign a format, how to present the results. So this framework works very well because it clearly defines who the AI should act as, the role, exactly what needs to be accomplished, the task, and how the response should be structured, which would be the format. This helps ensure you get focused, relevant output that matches your specific needs. Let's see this in action. Here is the example that Claude constructed for us. And as you can see here, for our RTF or role task format, we have our first part of the prompt, the role. We are assigning a role. In this case, we want the AI to be an experienced financial advisor. We do go ahead and assign a task. We ask it to help us create monthly budget plan and define some other variables here. And then we have lastly our format, and we tell it in what format do we want to have the response returned. Here now I've switched over to Gemini to see our role task format prompt in action. I copied it over from Claude, so let's paste it in here. We do have our role defined, our task, and our format, and let's run this. And let's take a look. We gave it the role. We wanted to help us create a monthly budget. 65,000 per year, and then we ask it here to give us a structured budget breakdown with specific dollar amounts. So let's see what happened. It understands our income. It does the calculation. It lists everything out. We have our monthly budget plan exactly as we asked. It gives us the breakdown here. So this prompt worked very well, and we get an output that we can now take and use if we wanted to. The next framework we're taking a look at is COP, which is context, objectives, and parameters. For context, we want to give some situational background. As an objective, what do we want to achieve? And parameters are any kind of constraints or other specifications that we want to give. So this framework is particularly effective because it provides essential background information, which is the context, clearly states the desired outcome, which is the objective, and sets specific constraints and requirements, our parameters, that shape the solution. This ensures the response is both realistic and actionable within your specific situation. Let's see this in action. Here we have the example that Claude came up with for us. So for COP, which is context, objectives, and parameters, we have our context in the first part of the prompt. So you are a marketing specialist helping a small local bakery that has been in business for 15 years, and so forth. So we are setting the clear background here, the context. Then next up, we have our objective. So what are we trying to achieve? What do we want AI to do for us? And we wanted here to create a social media content strategy that will increase brand awareness among the target demographic and drive more customers to visit the physical bakery location within the next 3 months. And next, underneath, we're setting our parameters. So we're telling it, for example, to focus on Instagram and TikTok. We set a budget constraint. We set some constraints around the content. It must highlight the artisanal process and 15-year heritage, and so forth. This is where we're setting our parameters. So this is a very good example of COP, or context objective parameters. Here we are back in Gemini, so let's take a look at how this works for our COP, or context, objective, and parameters. And let's see how Gemini handles this particular prompt. And it shows the thinking. So we gave it the context, we gave it the objective, and then the parameters here. And we're expecting a 400 to 600 word response. So here's our response it came back with, following our instructions, following our context that we gave it, the objective that we gave it, and then it followed the parameters. As a last example, we have ERA, or explain, request, and assert. Explain means provide background context. Then we have our request, make a specific ask or request something specific. And then we have assert, which states expectations clearly. This framework works effectively because it provides necessary background context, which is the explain, and makes a clear request for help, which is the request, and it sets a firm expectation about quality and approach, which would be our assert. The assert component is particularly powerful as it ensures the response meets your specific standards and requirements rather than delivering generic output. Let's take a look at an example. And here we have the example for ERA, or explain, request, and assert. We have our explain here on the top in our prompt, in our example prompt. And here is where we're setting the background information and give as much information as we can. And then we have our request section here. And in the request, we're telling the AI model what exactly do we want it to do and what to help us with. And here's the same thing, give as much information as you can. And then we have our assert. And in the assert, we're setting some limits or parameters. In this case, we want to avoid fitness jargon or overly salesy language. And this is what would be defined in the assert section. But this is an example of explain, request, and assert. And lastly, let's see the explain, request, and assert prompt in action. Let me paste it in here. So here we have our explain, our request, and our assert. And let's run this in Gemini as well. And what we asked it to do was our request. Please write 3 different email subject lines for our launch campaign. Each should be under 50 characters. And let's take a look. So we have here 3 email subject lines, 1, 2, and 3. What are some of the common pitfalls when you start learning, writing, and engineering good prompts, and how can you avoid them? So one of the common pitfalls is being too vague. You're not providing enough detail, for example. So a vague prompt here would, for example, be help me with marketing. The solution is provide more information and set some parameters. So create a 3-month email marketing campaign strategy for B2B software targeting IT managers. The next pitfall could be overcomplicating. So the problem is you're writing a single prompt and you're trying to do everything. The solution to that would be break the prompt into smaller, more focused prompts, and each of these smaller sections provide as much detail as necessary to get the most accurate and specific response that you're looking for. Not providing quality criteria. So if you're not specifying what good looks like, then you may not get the result you're looking for. So include success criteria and examples if you can. Ignoring context is another pitfall, and the problem would be that you're not providing sufficient background. You want to always provide as much background as you can. So set the scene and establish relevant constraints wherever possible to get the most accurate results out of the AI. Let's talk a little bit about the future of prompt engineering. As you may wonder, well, why would you want to learn all this and why should you get good at it? So there's some emerging trends. Automated prompt optimization is an emerging trend that the optimization of prompts will be handled by some sort of functions and maybe agents. Domain-specific prompting techniques, integration with business workflows, and prompt security and safety considerations. These are all trends that are still growing and rapidly developing. And for the skills development, prompt engineering will become a core digital literacy skill. That means you want to work in IT, there is a good chance that eventually, if you do not know anything about prompt engineering, you may not be picked as a candidate. Prompt engineering will integrate with the traditional roles. That also means that if you're in a traditional role, AI will eventually hit your workplace and you will need to be able to maybe prompt an AI model. And if you're not familiar with prompt engineering, you may be left behind. New career paths will emerge. And with AI prompting or with prompt engineering, there's new job openings. There is new careers that are being created, and they will look for skilled people who know how to prompt engineer well and have advanced knowledge. And continuous learning is required due to the rapid development. That means you should always, if you're interested in AI, always keep an eye on the market and see what the latest developments are and stay in tune with the rapid development that's happening. As we are coming to the end of this video, let's do a recap and talk about the key takeaways. Prompt engineering is a strategic skill. It's not about writing better instructions. It's about unlocking AI's potential for your specific needs. Quality inputs drive quality outputs. The effort you put into crafting prompts directly correlates with the value you get from AI. Systematic approach beats trial and error. Using frameworks and methodologies leads to more consistent, predictable results. Practice and iteration are essential. Like any skill, prompt engineering improves with deliberate practice and experimentation. Context is king. The more relevant context you provide, the better AI can assist you. This completes our journey into the world of advanced prompt engineering, going beyond simple AI prompting. I hope you found this helpful and you took something away from it, and I hope you learned something to make you more efficient with your prompt engineering endeavors. I do appreciate your time and your attention. Thank you for watching.